So now we have our first web page up and running, we're going to look at some specific HTML tags that we can use to make our websites look like something other than just plain text. And in this video, we'll be looking at header tags. So I'm going to get rid of the text there, my first web page, and I'm going to do my first header tag. Now, do you remember how we do that from the example.com that we looked at a couple of videos ago? If so, then try putting in a header tag. Go for it. I hope you managed it. If not, don't worry. We open a tag in the normal way with our angled brackets, and then our first header tag we're going to use is H1. And then my text editor gives me the closing tag as well, which is very handy. If yours doesn't, then just write it out manually. It's not a problem. And I'm going to type, this is a big header. Then let's have a look. So we'll save that and take a look. There we go. So you can see this is what an H1 tag looks like with no custom styling. It's a nice, big, bold header. And that's about it. That's all we can do with an H1 tag. With an H2 tag, as you might guess, it's quite a big header. Not quite as big as H1, but let's have a look. There we go. So it's bigger than normal text and bold, but smaller than an H1. So you can probably see where this is going. We can have an H3. And it's getting smaller and smaller as we go on. And I'm actually just going to copy and paste so you don't have to see me type out each one. So that's going to be an H4. Let's have a quick look at that. So obviously we're getting smaller and smaller every time, and we can keep going. So H5. Smaller again. We're actually getting smaller than normal text here. And we can keep going. We can have an H6 header as well. I must say at this point, they're very rarely used, the H6 header. I don't think I've ever gone beyond an H4 in any of the websites that I've used. So it's very unlikely you'll use an H6. But just to point out, if we try and use an H7 header, we get back to normal text. So this is actually not an H7 header because H7 doesn't exist. So we can't use an H7 header. If we try to do it, it'll just give us normal text as if it hasn't recognized the tag. So headers go all the way from H1 to H6, but to be honest, you'll probably only use H1, H2, and maybe H3 in your documents, and occasionally possibly H4. But as I say, I've never used an H5 or an H6. But header tags are very useful and are also good for getting your site listed in Google if you put your important keywords, that is, the words that you want your site to appear for in Google, in an H1 tag, then they're much more likely to appear higher up the Google search results than if you just put them in normal text. So I definitely recommend using H1 tags on all your pages, and probably H2 tags as well if you've got some slightly smaller headings that you want to use. Right, so we're now moving on from header tags to look at paragraph tags. Now, you might be wondering why we need paragraph tags. If we look at some standard text, just like that, you can see it looks pretty normal. And then if we put paragraph tags around it, which you might remember are just a P for paragraph, and then I'm going to manually put in the /P to end the paragraph tag. If we then have a look at that, it doesn't actually look any different. The paragraph tag doesn't restyle the text at all. So what's the point? Well, let's go back to how here is some text. And now what if we want to put some text on the next line down? Well, you would have thought we could just do that and put it on the next line down in our text document. Let's have a look. No. So line breaks, as they are known, new lines in our text, don't actually become new lines on the website itself. So we have to manually put new lines in. And there are two ways to do that, and I'll show you both of them now. The first one is to surround both of our lines of text with paragraph tags like that. So there's our first paragraph and there's our second paragraph. So if we now save that and refresh, then they are on separate lines. So that's one use of the paragraph tag, to give us a new line. It also makes our code look better because we can see very clearly that we expect these to be separate paragraphs. And we might want to apply different formatting to each paragraph, as we'll see how to do in the next video. There is another way to put text on a new line though, and I'll show you that now. So if we have a third paragraph, let's have some text with a line break. Just like that. And if we want to put a line break in the middle, we use the tag BR. Like that, which is short for break or line break. And let's just have a look and see what that looks like. You can see we've now got a line break where the BR tag is, but it's slightly different to the new paragraph. So it's not a full new paragraph because we don't have the gap in between, but we do have the text on a new line. So they do slightly different things, the paragraph tag and the BR tag. And you could imagine in different situations you might want new paragraphs or just a line break like that. One thing to notice about the BR tag, it's the first tag that we've met that doesn't have a closing tag associated with it. And there are going to be a few more that we'll see along our journey. So BR is what's known as a self-closing tag because it's just a line break, it doesn't surround anything. You may also see BR with a slash in it like that. And this is when you're using XHTML, which you don't really need to worry about at this point, but you can look up if you want to know more about it. It's essentially a very precise version of HTML that you might want to use in some circumstances, and that would have a slash right there in the tag itself. But with HTML and HTML5, you don't need to use that. So you should just use BR like we've got there. So that's how you use paragraph tags and line breaks. Now you're really getting up to speed with HTML. In the next video, we'll see how to customize our text to change its look and style within a paragraph. See you there.